Welcome in everyone to Betting Weekly Live. It is Thursday the 27th of November. You with Steve Wiss and James Eastham. And happy Thanksgiving to everyone, James. Have you got your turkey on standby there, cooking away?
No, not here, but happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there, especially, of course, our viewers in the States. Big day there. And big day for us in the Europa League and the Conference League, although I have to say I've just about recovered from what's been a really exciting week of Champions League games. I thought the action last night was particularly exciting with the PSG win against Tottenham and the Monaco game I watched away to Paphos. So plenty of games have already whetted our appetite on the European slate this week. And we've got plenty more to come across the two competitions taking place today.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It was a crazy night. We did the new live show last night, me and Will White, the breakdown, and there was plenty to discuss. You can check that out on the channel, of course, and some notable winners yesterday on the soccer front. Nearly $20,000 in Real Madrid at minus 178. We did flag it up yesterday as a big price. 15,000 on Arsenal money line at plus 112. Biggest loser was Paphos Monaco under 3 on the Asian total at minus 132. Biggest prop bet was also a loser, sadly, Bukayo Saka over 1.5 shots on target in the Arsenal game. But yeah, it was a crazy day on the field, and we might get more crazy action today in the Europa and Conference League. That's what we're here to preview. I'm going to have some betting breakdowns for the NFL Thanksgiving games as well. There's 2 house specials on the NFL, which I will mention later. But yeah, we can't go through the whole card because there's just too many games. But as per usual, we're selecting the fixtures that we are targeting here. But I want to welcome everyone in. And I saw a comment, Father Brian, Steve's captain make an appearance. She is here, minus 110 cashes. Or does she have to get up and about and get on screen?
Got to be on camera. Got to be on camera.
Yeah. You're T's and C's with the books, haven't you, on this one, James?
Yes.
But Steve, do we have turkeys in the UK? We certainly do. Absolutely,
we do. Yeah. But not on Thanksgiving. No. Not today.
They're just getting primed for Christmas, I think, over here, Byron. And we'll be talking about that Palace game, don't you worry. Put your best bets in chat. We're going to start by a look at the Europa League table. We're 4 matches in now out of 8. Two sides still on 0 points, Nice and Rangers. And only one team has a 100% record, FC Midtjylland. The whole aim of the game, as per usual, to get in that top 24. And we're going to start with a couple of, there's a lot on the early card that we like, actually, this week. Here's the first set of Europa League games. These matches kick off at 12:45 p.m. Eastern. We've got Fenerbahce against Ferencvaros. And this is the first bet for me of the day. And I'm taking the dog here, +1 on the Asian handicap for Ferencvaros. This was actually, there's a really good point Nigel Seeley made on Tuesday. There's a huge match coming up on Monday night in the Turkish Super League. Fenerbahce against Galatasaray, one of the biggest fixtures on the calendar there. We're probably going to have to cover it on Betting Weekly Live, actually, on Monday. It's that big. But, I mean, Galatasaray had that shock defeat. I wonder if Fenerbahce might be looking ahead as well. I think it's such a huge game that you can get a +1 goal on Ferencvaros, who are not bad at all, by the way. They've had a good Europa League so far, well managed by Robbie Keane. I'm very happy to take that dog. For me, it's not really a day for the dogs, though, James. There's a lot of favourites I like in general. Yeah. And the first favourite we like here, Lille against Dinamo Zagreb. Talk us through this game. They're minus 230 on the money line, Lille, and they've been back well in all week.
Yeah, they have. They've got shorter and shorter all week, have Lille. They were my pick in our newsletter, which went out earlier in the week to subscribers. I backed them in the newsletter minus 0.75 Asian handicap. At the time was minus 136. Just before we came on out, it was minus 167. So that shows how popular Lille have been this week. If you're looking to back them on the Asian handicap now and minus 167 is too short for you, you may need to consider them -1 on the Asian handicap instead. But I think they will win tonight. Because I think they have to. And I think, minds will have been sharpened at Lille by their opening 4 games in this competition. They've not done badly. They've won 2, but they've also lost 2. And I think the defeat that will be most clearly in their minds as they go into this game tonight will be their 4-3 home defeat to PAOK that they had earlier in the group phase. Didn't play particularly well in that match, especially in the first half, then fought back, but gave themselves too much to do. I think they want to avoid that type of situation here tonight. They're playing a Dinamo Zagreb side who are actually above them in the table. Dinamo Zagreb have got 7 points to Lille's 6. So they certainly won't take the game lightly, and they'll need the points. They'll certainly feel like they need the points because, like I say, 6 points from 12 isn't bad, but it's not great. And Lille are very keen to do very well in Europe this season. Let's not forget they were in the Champions League and did well in that competition last season. They're looking to do the same in the Europa League this time around. So I think they'll take it seriously. There may be some rotation in terms of their team news, which we will get, I think, while we're on air here. That wouldn't surprise me, but I don't think they'll rotate too heavily because, like I say, they're looking to win this game. And you may want to wait for team news and just see how many players they do rest. But I think the reserves are actually pretty good for me at Lille anyway. And I think whatever they put out will be competitive. I'd like it if they went stronger rather than rotated too much, of course. But I think the balance will be just about right here. So I'm sticking with Lille. Like I say, they went out from me as my pick in the newsletter this week. The price has shortened, but I think that just shows we were right to back them at the start of the week. And I'm not making any great claim that they'll win by 2 or 3 or 4 goals, but I think the focus on making sure they get 3 points is very strong at Lille going into this game. So I would back them to win it. Just on the props market as well, Steve, one player I'd like to flag up is the number 10 for Lille, Hacken Haraldsson. He's available in the over 0.5 shot on target market at plus 107. I think a plus money price here on Haraldsson, who plays in that number 10 position, is pretty good. He was dropped to the bench in League One at the weekend when Lille won 4-2 at home to Paris FC. I think that means he will start tonight. And in a Lille side going for the win, I think backing Haraldsson from the number 10 position to manage a shot on target at plus money is worth a look. He's not always the most accurate with his shooting, I have to say, but he does try shots. He's not afraid to have a go, and he is encouraged to get into positions to do that. So I think in tonight's game, if Haraldsson starts, plus 107 on him in the over 0.5 shot on target market, worth a look.
Yeah, Hacken Haraldsson over 0.5 shots on target at plus 105. What did we say? What did you say in that Betting Zoo episode that me and you did, James? When you're looking at shots on target, one of the biggest criteria, do they shoot? And
do they shoot? He does. And, you know, I quite like Haraldsson as a player. There's a few rough edges to him still. He's a very young player, so plenty of time to improve. But I like the way he goes about the job of being the number 10 when he gets picked. He will have a go. If they were away from home in a League One game, let's say against the Marseille or a Paris Saint-Germain, it'd be a completely different set of circumstances. A game like this, which it's really important for Lille to win and where they should dominate the ball, if he starts, I think Haraldsson will repeatedly get into advanced positions. And as a player who likes to have a shot, I think the plus money is worth a look.
Yeah, and a reminder about the newsletter as well, because James rightly flagged out there that he gave out Lille minus 0.75 at minus 136. That was on Monday. That's been smashed into minus 200 now. It's well worth you signing up to the free newsletter. My pick on the Monday's newsletter cashed last night in Liverpool against PSV. Jack Wright unfortunately didn't land this week, but 2 out of 3 wouldn't be bad. And tomorrow, the Betting Weekly Insider will come into your inbox free of charge. Full set of weekend previews, not just in the soccer world, but also American sports. And when the tennis season resumes, you'll get extra insights in that sport too. So totally free. Do sign up. Esco, you just keep asking about this Freiburg game, and I've suddenly realised I've not got it on the graphic. I don't think the Freiburg game is in. Who have they got today? They're in Poland. I'm sure they're in Poland. I'll come to it later. No, Plzeň against Freiburg. I don't like them. The weather forecast is really cold there. I think it would be an under game. And Plzeň are one of those sides when they're in the Europa League and Conference League. They're hard to beat. I could see a draw. I could see 0-0 or 1-1, but I'm not actually betting in it. I'm not actually on the Freiburg train today, Esco, myself. Going back to the slate here, Ludogorets against Celta Vigo. This is another this is a pick of yours, James. You always surprise me with a couple of fixtures every single time we do these shows. This was one I didn't thought you'd be targeting, but you have been targeting it. Celta Vigo are the clear favourites here away from home. The La Liga side who've been enjoying playing in Europe this season, it must be said, against the however many times in a row Bulgarian champions, Ludogorets. Is it about 15 years in a row now? How do you see this game going?
Well, I like the goals here. It's another game where the prices have moved against really what I wanted. I mean, they've moved in the right direction in the sense I think my call is right, but maybe some of the value has gone. So my play on this game is over 2.25 goals, which I think is worth a look. Over goals would be the way I go here. I was surprised earlier in the week, certainly, that under 2.5 goals was a very clear favourite. No longer the case, so the prices have moved here. But I just want to outline the stats that made me look towards overs here rather than unders. If you look at the games that these two teams have played so far in the Europa League, we've obviously had 4 games for all teams now. 7 of the 8 games that these two teams combined have played have had over 2.5 goals. Some pretty big scorelines in there from Ludogorets. They lost 3-1 away at Ferencvaros. They lost 3-2 away at Young Boys of Switzerland. Celta Vigo, all 4 of their games have gone over 2.5 goals, which includes a 3-1 win at home to PAOK and 3-0 away at Dinamo Zagreb. So the stats on this competition specifically, certainly the top line stats, how many goals have we had in the games, point very strongly towards over goals. One other factor I think on this game that is worth considering is just how infrequently Celta Vigo have managed to keep a clean sheet across all competitions this season. They've actually conceded at least once in 15 of their 17 combined La Liga and Europa League games. So this is a Celta Vigo side who have really struggled to keep clean sheets. We know they've had a lot of draws in La Liga. People may have seen us mention that on our weekly European show. So it does suggest that we'll get goals here. Ludogorets have just changed their manager as well. It could be a factor in encouraging them at home here. He started with a win away from home in the league last weekend, and he's got a chance now at home to get the side pumped up and show what they can do. The other thing I should say is Ludogorets need the points. They've only got 3 points on the board. They've lost 3 games of their 4 played so far. If they're serious about going through in this competition, it's not quite last chance saloon time for the teams who, like them, have only got 3 points on the board, but not far off. So it's a really important game for them. And I think they'll take an attacking approach because of that. And I think that will set the tempo for the type of game we have. So I really like over 2.25 goals. As I say, there has been some movement on the prices. An alternative to that would be to look at both teams to score yes, because I think that's something that should happen as well. So maybe compare the two, see which of the prices you like. But I would say this is a game for goals for me rather than being a low-scoring match.
Yeah, you're very much in the camp of goals there, James, which is understandable for that particular fixture. Just going back to the card here again, the match here at the bottom, I really like PAOK against Brann today. PAOK -1 Asian handicap for me. -118 would be one of my strongest bets of the day, actually. I'm of the belief at this point in the season, in the year, we want to be opposing teams whose leagues are either finished or are on the verge of finishing, because it's effectively like teams who in the mainstream leagues of Europe are entering April and May, James. There's a lot of tired legs in there. It's a long, grueling season. And I think for Brann, it's been taking its toll. I knew they would struggle rotating between Europe and domestic matches. They just got well beaten 4-0 by Molde at the weekend. And there's no doubt they are targeting the Europa League now. But it looks like it's going to cost them third place in the league, which that's the difference between Europa League and Conference League now in Norway. Might not be the biggest deal in the world, but I think they're really struggling. I opposed them, of course, at Bologna last time they were away, and they got a 0-0 draw. But Bologna were down to 10 men after, 25 minutes. PAOK are top of the Greek league right now. They're doing really well. They're playing really well. They're scoring a lot of goals.
Yes.
The last 2 matches in Europe, they've scored 4 goals each time, including that crazy match at Lille, of course. 4-0 win against Young Boys last time out. If they're beating Young Boys at home 4-0, I think they're going to get at least a win against Brann. So I'm going to go -1 on PAOK here. And, the mini ladder's actually coming out here. -2 on PAOK at +270. That's definitely worth a nibble as well. For me, one of the strongest bets of the day. We've got to put the final Celtic matchup on screen here as a full blown up image, because I know there's a lot of people in chat who have been betting against the Old Firm in a double each week in Europa League, and it's been very profitable. Now, today, I'm not sure about the Rangers match. Something tells me Rangers might actually get something against Braga. They're due a result. But Celtic away from home is, for me, usually an auto fade in Europe. Feyenoord at -159 on the money line here. And I think there's nothing wrong with that bet at all. I like the -0.75 handicap on Feyenoord at -127. They're actually coming into the match off the back of a defeat, a shock loss at home in domestic league. Been a lot of negativity about the Dutch league this season in general, but then PSV rock up and beat Liverpool 4-1 last night. I think that'll give them a boost, Feyenoord. Sometimes when a team from your own nation gets a result like that, you either get inspired by it or you want to sort of match them and better them. And at the Kuip at home, I just think they get the job done in this one. Any support out there for Celtic today, guys? Or are we keeping backing against them? I'm keeping betting against Celtic. I don't know if you got any brief thoughts on the game, James, or not.
Yeah, I think the point you make about PSV's result is a really pertinent one. I think it's two things, actually. One, you are inspired by it. And two, I think, the competitive nature of footballers comes out a bit as well, doesn't it? They want to do what PSV have done. And I think especially in a league like the Dutch league, where we have, the same teams really at the top of the table every year, I think Feyenoord watching what PSV done, on the one hand, they'll be really chuffed about it because it's obviously good for the Dutch league coefficient rating in Europe to have had that big win. But yeah, I don't see any downside at all to that PSV win as regards what it would do for Feyenoord going into their game. So I agree with you, Steve. I think if anything, it's a point of inspiration for them tonight.
Yeah, I like Feyenoord there on the -0.75 Asian handicap. This is a match I do have a betting split for, actually. And it's more to do with the over. 71% of the money is on the over in this fixture, and 89% of the tickets are on the over as well. So that's an interesting one. FGA Football said he's staying well away from the Scottish teams. Celtic not impressed. Celtic are terrible, said Stuart Johnson. And Stuart's been against the Old Firm sides in this competition. Worryingly, and you might be able to talk some sense into me later, James, here. There is a Scottish team I like tonight, actually.
Oh, Aberdeen?
Yeah, exactly. Your face, yes, making me think, what am I thinking about? I do actually quite like Aberdeen later. But I'm starting to sort of double think on myself. But the other early fixture we've got to get blown up here is, of course, Aston Villa. -500 now to beat Young Boys at home. Young Boys are a huge price, and so is the tie. Goal line's at 3.5. Aston Villa have been, well, they've not had it all their own way in this Europa League group phase so far. Got the result at Leeds at the weekend, came from behind. And, we fully expect them to get the job done here. They are the first part of the daily double today. Explain, though, the main sort of single bet line you quite like here, James, and then how you're going to convert that into the daily double.
Yeah, I like Aston Villa here to win the game. They're obviously, as you can see, they're a really short price to win it at -500. So if I was doing them as a single on the game, I would back them on the Asian handicap with a -1.75 goal start. Which is available around -150. It would just be a lean for me as a single on the -1.75 Asian handicap, because you would need them to win by a couple of goals there. I think they're fully capable of winning by two or more goals here. They are the better team by some distance for me. They've been good generally in the competition. They've got 3 wins out of 4, and they're playing a Young Boys side who I think they generally struggle away from home. I know they've had a win already away from home in this competition. They beat FCSB 2-0, but they lost 4-0 away to the PAOK team that you've referenced already, Steve. They did have a red card in that game, but it was a heavy defeat. And they've lost 4-1 away at home to Panathinaikos. I don't think they're particularly strong defensively. I think as a team, they're much better when they can go forward. And that's not something I think they're going to have much opportunity to do tonight, because you would expect Aston Villa to massively dominate in terms of possession and strongly go for the win. I would make it a lean on Aston Villa as a single rather than a full pick, because I am slightly concerned about rotation. I think we will see some from Aston Villa, and although they do have a deep squad and a good squad, if they were to rotate, it might just be that they were comfortable with a 1-goal margin of victory, or it might be that they can only manage a 1-goal margin of victory. I don't know. So there's various ways to look at the game. As I say, as a single, I would back Villa as a lean -1.75 Asian handicap. As part of our daily double, putting it in with one of your picks, Steve, I think Aston Villa -1 on the Asian handicap is well worth a look, because with -1 on the Asian handicap, you would only lose if Aston Villa failed to win the match. And I'm very confident that they will win the match by some margin. So we're going to double up, obviously, and the other one will come along later in the show. But for the double, Aston Villa -1 Asian handicap for me would be worth taking.
Yeah, basically, we kind of identifying them as the banker of the day, the lock of the day, if you want to call it that way. For those who just want to add them in the money line, as my cat makes her appearance, so that bet's cashed. Aston Villa should, at some point, I think Villa are going to rack up a big win in this group stage against someone. It's just always going to happen. The big teams will get a huge win somewhere. This could be it. I mean, if you're losing 4-0 at PAOK, I just said that PAOK are not a bad side, but they're not as good as Aston Villa. Yeah. If I just think with young boys, I mean, they also lost 5-1 to 4-1 to Panathinaikos. When things start to go bad, they go bad.
Yes.
So
I agree.
Yeah, that's one of those. I'll talk about the second part of the Daily Double a bit later. We've actually talked about all the early kickoffs in the Europa League, apart from Porto, Nice. Quick word: Porto -300, yay or nay, James?
Yeah, probably some way of backing Porto for me, because Nice are absolutely terrible at the moment. Anybody that's followed League One closely, they lost 5-1 at home to Marseille last weekend. There's all sorts of problems in that squad. Suggestions: the manager has lost the dressing room. I don't agree with that. I think it's too strong to say that Franck S, the manager at Nice, has lost the dressing room, but he's really struggling at the moment, as are many players in that team. So it's very difficult to make a case for Nice getting anything from that game against a Porto side who at the moment are clearly better than them.
Yeah, I like Porto to win that match. I'm not sure about the handicap, though, because I still think they're focusing a bit on the domestic league. Win by 1 goal wouldn't shock me, but I think Porto win it definitely. Conference League, then. Here's the table for 3 teams still on 9 points, 3 teams still on 0 points. And we're at the halfway stage now for the Conference League. Picked out 4 of the early games, which we may well have an interest in. Well, it's more my side, actually, here. AZ against Shelbourne. -625 on the money line for AZ, but I think they're very backable on the -2 Asian handicap at -127. I mentioned earlier at the top of the show, I am looking to oppose teams whose leagues have already finished or are finishing very, very soon. And the League of Ireland was over several weeks ago. And I think Shelbourne, they finished 3rd in that league. AZ have had a couple of poor domestic results. They're going to be firing to come out of the blocks here quickly. Parrott, he's going to be a very popular goal scorer bet today to score 2 or even a hat-trick. For me, it's night and day between these two sides. I think AZ win to 0, -2 Asian handicap for me at -127. I put the Spartans, the Red Imps game up there because this is a very winnable game for both, actually. Maltese team against Gibraltar team. They met, actually, in the early rounds of the Champions League this year. I wouldn't be betting on the Spartans at -205. And it's rare I give out a card play these days, but if you are looking at cards today, this is the match for you, because they met earlier in the summer. Like I said, 11 cards in the first meeting, 7 in the second, several reds as well. Main reason I think is it's a winnable game for both. Like, they look at this and think, hold on, we can get results here. Everything's on the line, and it wouldn't surprise me at all if the cards do flow in that. You can get a 4.5 line with Bet Rivers. For those who can access the cards, just thought I'd put that little tidbit on the table there. Slovan, Bratislava, Vallecano. Again, just something I'm putting on the table here. People were asking about corners. You can get an over 9.5 corner line, which is generously low for any match, including Rayo Vallecano. Again, it's a little lean for me there. And then Zrinjski there against Hacken. Again, continuing my fade of teams that have their own domestic league is finished. And I think the Bosnian side here, Zrinjski, who are well top of their league at this point in time, domestically, can get a result against Hacken. It's the wrong favourite for me. Zrinjski draw no bet, +108. Hacken haven't played a competitive game for 3-4 weeks, and Zrinjski, I think, could get a result here. They at home, they're not too bad. I think they're a lively dog in this match. I'm not interested in sides who have not had a competitive game for 3 weeks, James. So those are my thoughts on the early conference games. I don't think you had anything on the early conference, did you?
No, I didn't. But I didn't. That's a brilliant summary of some of those games involving teams from the smaller league, Steve. The general point about teams who have not played recently, I think, is a really salient one. Do look into that. Does it make a difference? I think anybody that speaks to professional footballers or semi-professional footballers, as might be the case in some of those clubs, will tell you that 2 or 3 weeks without a game makes a big difference. Very difficult to maintain your sharpness, your fitness. It's not that they're injured. It's just you've lost that rhythm of playing games without something to work towards every week. And then just the sharpness you get from playing them at this sort of level. And I know the Conference League is not the top level in Europe, but it's still a very good level. At this sort of level, the sharpness you lose by not playing games can be significant. So do take a look at the teams who haven't played, because I think it will be a factor.
Welcome in, Coach Zanko. Good to see you. Cree says, do we like Lille today? We certainly do, Cree, for sure. Just one other point I want to make about these early Conference League games, and that is the weather conditions. And Nigel mentioned this on Tuesday, actually. The coldest place in Europe this week has been around the Poland area, the Czech Republic area, actually. There's some really cold conditions going up. Like, for example, Sigma Olomouc, the Czech side there, they're facing the Slovenian team Cele. Now, I'm normally blind overs on a Cele match. It's going to be minus 3 degrees Celsius there, James. Yeah. Now, for me, that's just too much of a red flag. Yeah. When the first signs of cold come in, I'm looking at unders. And the games in Rakov are affected here as well. Lech, Poznan against Lausanne. And I mentioned it, the Freiburg game as well. So against Plzeň. So just be a bit wary of the weather conditions across Europe. It's colder. Usually that, for me, yields less goals when it first comes in. Just a little bit of a word of warning there. Now, before we move to the late games, I'm going to give you a betting breakdown, actually, of the first NFL Thanksgiving fixture. And there's 2 daily doubles here in this match. This is the, let me just get the actual data. This is the Lions match at Packers at Lions. This is a 1 p.m. Eastern time start, and there's 2 house specials. One's an official house special, and it's called First to Feast. Josh Jacobs or Amon-Ra St. Brown to score the first touchdown in this match is plus 260. So if you like either of those players in the first touchdown market, then grab that. And there's a daily boost, and it's called the Turkey Trot, and it's Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery to combine for 60-plus first half rushing yards versus the Packers, boosted from plus 100 to plus 150. That actually looks very generous. I've been watching quite a lot of Gibbs recently, and I know his record against the Packers is not very good. They often bottle him up, but 60 first half rushing yards combined for Gibbs and Montgomery, that's very doable, James. I'll tell you now. If you want some more info on the NFL games, do check out Betting Weekly Live USA edition yesterday, where Doug and Mike Carver go through all 3 matches, and it's well worth listening to their thoughts. There isn't going to be a Betting Weekly Live PM show today because of Thanksgiving, just to let everyone know. But anyway, the betting splits for the game. The Packers are plus 120 on the money line, and the Lions are minus 2.5 on the spread. 78% of the money is on the Lions. 74% of the tickets on the Lions as well, and on the spread, the Lions are liked as well. 78% of that money on the minus 2.5 spread. The points line 48.5. 76% of the money is on the over. I think it's an intrigue. I do like a bit of NFL on Thanksgiving, James, I must say. My Ravens are in action later, and the first fixture in Detroit is, I'm hoping to be quite an exciting one. So good luck if you are betting on. You ever been into NFL in your time or not?
No, not really. I had a couple of friends who were at school when it was sort of the first wave of the NFL becoming popular in the UK. So never really followed it myself, but you will need a split screen later, Steve, with so much of our soccer going on. And then the NFL later. It's going to be a late night, I think.
Yeah, we need to get you a team on the NFL, James.
Yeah.
I don't know what
if anybody wants to pick one for me, I am open to offers.
There you go. He's open to offers. So that's the first match. I'll talk about the betting splits for the other two later on. But into Europa League late fixtures now. Several matches to discuss. Maccabi Tel Aviv against Lyon. I've left this match in your capable hands, James. So give us the breakdown and the best bet.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident here about Lyon winning the game. As you can see, they're minus 136 to do so at the moment. It's an interesting fixture in that there's lots of factors here. So I made it an official pick. It's just on the money line for Lyon, minus 136. First thing to say about this game is it is a clear difference in quality between Lyon and Maccabi Tel Aviv. Lyon have won 3 out of their 4 matches in the Europa League so far. They're obviously a team with good European pedigree. They're not perfect. We know they've got a couple of problems in attack through lack of players in that position, but they have got good players in other parts of the pitch. Maccabi Tel Aviv have taken just 1 point from a possible 12 so far. They're near the foot of the 36-team Europa League table, and they are struggling. Another big factor on this match is it's being played at a neutral venue, taking place in Serbia. So essentially, it's not a home match. It's a neutral venue match. And I think the price of Lyon to win it of minus 130 something, the price has moved a little bit around there, is great when you consider that there's no real home advantage here. It's a small stadium. It's about 4,000 to 5,000 capacity. Predictions are that there will only be about 500 to 600 fans at this game, and that 100 or more of them will be from Lyon. Now, it's obviously small numbers we're talking about, but I think when 20% of the fans at the game are supporting your team, they will be, I think, audible in what is a largely empty stadium. I think that's a real boost for Lyon, because I think as a percentage of the fans that are there, it's pretty good. The other thing to say about Lyon is we're expecting a fairly strong side here. We don't know yet. It should get named about an hour and a quarter. They normally come out before the matches. So you'll get to see it well before kickoff, but we think it will be fairly strong, primarily because they've got a small squad and they've got quite a few players missing. So actually manager Paulo Fonseca doesn't have that many rotation options. He may want to rotate, but he's fairly limited in how much he can rotate. So I think there's lots of reasons here why Lyon would win it. And I just look at it as almost not quite a practice game. It's not. It's a competitive game. But if you see it as a game on neutral territory, almost behind closed doors, it's not, but it's a particularly small attendance that we're expecting here. I would fully expect Lyon to win a game like this against a much weaker side. And I think the price, like I say, of minus 136, something like that on Lyon, to me, it doesn't reflect just how many factors here are in their favour, on top of the fact they're the stronger side. So it's a pick from me on Lyon on the money line. I think they're worth backing at that price. And if you're looking for a props play on the game, the player to look at for me would be Tyler Morton in midfield in the over 0.5 shot on target market. He's been very good for Lyon this season. He does sometimes sit quite deep in midfield, but when he gets forward, he can have an attempt on goal. He's also a player who has the capability of having an attempt on goal from a direct free kick. Tyler Morton is plus 220 to just manage over 0.5 shots on target. I think in a game where I'm expecting Lyon to have a lot of possession and to get forward and try to win it, I think Tyler Morton at plus 220 is the value pick in the over 0.5 shot on target market. I've been through all the prices of Lyon players on the game. As I say, we don't know exactly who's going to start, but we are expecting it to be quite a strong side. Tyler Morton was suspended in League One last weekend. I think that means it's more likely that he will start here. So have a look at him. But my main play on the game would be to back Lyon on the money line here, because I'm expecting them to get the 3 points.
Yeah, it's a good point about the crowd. It really is. It's going to be like COVID, really, isn't it? And when that happens, I think it just kind of suits the better team, really, more often than not. And I think Maccabi are not that great shakes anyway, so it makes sense with the Lyon situation there. Absolutely. If there's anyone new watching the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. We are so close to 12,000 subscribers. Likes as well. Really appreciate those. Thank you everyone for your support. Seeing lots of comments in the chat about the soccer day, but also the Chiefs game with Dallas. I've got some betting breakdowns for that, which seems like there's some people on the Texans and the Chiefs and some people on Dallas. Anyway, back to this late slate in the Europa League. I put Rangers Braga down there at the bottom. I don't actually have a bet in the game. I put it on there. I wanted to see what people's thoughts were about Rangers this time. I feel like they might be due a result finally at home, but they're doing so poorly in the table that, I mean, are they going to sack off the Europa League? I don't know. Braga are not in bad form. Plus 106 for them. It just looked a match. I'm not going to bet on it. It wouldn't surprise me if it went either way there. I do like Panathinaikos there against Sturm Graz on the -1 or -0.75 Asian handicap. I know a few contacts in Austria have been telling me that Sturm Graz are not in a good way right now, leaking a lot of goals. And that would, to be honest, to correlate with what I've seen from them this season. They were very lucky to hold Nottingham Forest to a draw. Conceded a hell of a lot of shots in that fixture. Panathinaikos, for me, will get the job done here and win with a bit to spare against Sturm Graz. So I like them on the handicap. And then Nottingham Forest Malmo, a repeat of the 1979 European Cup final. There are a few people on the app Because We Win team who can remember that final.
We are not among them, we should say, Steve.
We are not among them. It ended 1-0 to Forest, of course. Trevor Francis with the winning goal. I do believe it was played in Munich. So it's quite a big deal, this match, actually. The Forest are making a big do of it and everything like that. This is going to be the second part of the Daily Double. It is technically my part of it, but we do agree on the pick, which is good. And I think Forest do a job on Malmo. I really do. This will come of no surprise to a lot of people who've been watching this show regularly. I've been fading Malmo right from the off. Another team right on their off season. They're in a mess. They've been really poor. They've got a manager, an interim manager, who's actually going to take over as the assistant at Middlesbrough in a few weeks' time. So, I mean, where's his priorities right now?
Yeah.
Forest, who obviously a Premier League team, going really well under Sean Dyche. And because of the nature of the game, I think they're up for it. They want to put on a show here in a repeat of this final. Hopefully it won't end 1-0 though, James, because the bet we're going on is -1.75 on the Asian handicap. You like Forest as well?
I do like Forest as well, Steve. Yeah, they need the win. I think that's a really crucial point here. I love these games, especially in Europe, where you've got teams coming from completely different leagues, where you've got more than one factor that would suggest that the team that you like would like to win the game. And I think Forest have got at least a couple. The first being they need the points. They've only got 5 points from 4 matches in the group phase so far, only 1 win from 4. So they need the win. So you've got no concerns about them easing off. The second factor for me, particularly, that stands out on Forest is I still think they're trying to impress the new manager, Sean Dyche. I think they're still benefiting from that change of manager and the change of energy around the place. They've obviously had some good results since he came in, not least in this competition when they got that only win they've had so far against Porto. But I think there's something still about that where just having that new energy around the place is working in their favour. And yeah, I think they're a really good bet to win here against the Malmo side who, let's be honest, have looked pretty poor so far in this competition. They've lost 3 out of 4. They've got only 1 point on the board out of 12. It's very difficult to see why Forest wouldn't win it. So, you know, I like Forest -1.5 on the Asian handicap, which was about -155 when it was available. My only slight concern with Forest is that I think there are reports going out they probably will rotate in this game. Again, like all the Premier League sides, there's a great depth to their squad and they can bring in some really good players to still do a job on Malmo. But I do think if they rotate, they get a little bit weaker. I think some positions at Forest, although they've got a good squad, there is a difference in quality between the number 1 and 2 choice. But I think Sean Dyche knows what he's doing in terms of this game because he knows they need a win. He won't weaken them so much that he jeopardizes that. So I fully expect them to win it. And I tend to agree with you, Steve. I think you said do a job on them. I think they want to go out and win fairly comfortably here. There's a lot of attacking players in this Forest squad. So if they do rotate, that's where I feel there's actually some good quality with the depth that they've got. And they've got players who, if they come into the side, will want to impress. So a Forest win all the way for me. They're obviously very short to do that, but Forest to win by a couple of goals, -1.5 on the Asian handicap, -1.75. You can pick your line, but I think a comfortable Forest win for me looks the most likely outcome.
Yeah, and you say the players want to impress Sean Dyche, and it's a manager that's been impressing you. I mean, I know you've been right on the Forest train ever since he came in, and they've done really, really well since Dyche has taken over. You know, like I said, they 2-2 draw against Man United. They should have scored multiple goals against Sturm Graz, and then 3-1 versus Leeds, 3-0 against Liverpool. Even if they rotate, and they will rotate, Gibbs White is, I think, going to be rested or slightly injured. These players want to get in the team. They want to show what they're made of. I think this could be another one where, part of me almost wants to ladder it again, but I am just going to stick with the minus 1.75 Asian handicap as a main, one of my strongest main single bets of the day. And this is the daily double. We cashed the daily double yesterday, by the way. That was the daily double winner yesterday at plus 121. Shout out to Will White for that.
Yeah.
But the daily double today is this one. Aston Villa minus 1 Asian handicap against Young Boys. That kicks off in about an hour's time. And then Nottingham Forest minus 1.75 on the Asian line, and that comes in at plus 131. If you want to keep it more simple, you can just back Villa on the money line and take Forest minus 1.5 or minus 1 on the three-way spread. And you would still get probably about even money on that. So but we really do like the two Premier League teams here to win and win well. To put it that way. That's the official daily double today. I'm not sure if I've got a betting split for that game. I don't think I do, actually. But anyway, on to Europa Late. I think that was it for Europa Late, wasn't it? Conference Late. Here we go. Yes, here we go, James. Aberdeen Noah. Now, this is maybe a bit of an issue for me here because I think Aberdeen are a big price.
I'm intrigued by this, Steve. Really intrigued.
Like, this is one of the main rules of betting in Europe this season seems to be oppose Scottish teams at all costs. And here I am potentially breaking a rule. But how can Aberdeen? Look, they're plus 117 now to beat Noah at home. This is Armenian opposition at home in Scotland, right? Aberdeen minus 0.25 on the Asian handicap is at minus 120. I know a few Aberdeen fans, and one of them, I was messaging them today, and he said to me, and he kind of sums it up really. He said, Steve, if we can't beat an ARC, we are in trouble. Now, all right, that's a bit of a tongue-in-cheek comment. But I'm going to nibble Aberdeen here. I'm not going to go full pelt in, but minus a quarter of a goal. We know Noah have had a decent run at times in the last couple of years, but I still think Aberdeen are better than their league position suggests in Scotland. They're the Scottish league winners. There's a manager there that I rate. He's called it a must-win as well, which I like. So they're going to go for it. This might bite me in the ass, genuinely. But I am going to nibble Aberdeen. I suspect you'll be a bit more cautious on this one. But, I mean, FC Noah, I might just imagining things here. Aberdeen a massive price.
Well, honest answer is I don't know enough about the game, really, Steve. I've had a look at Aberdeen with respect to one of the other leans I've got coming up, actually. I mean, they did suffer a 6-0 defeat, didn't they, in this competition? But, yeah, Noah, I quite liked some of what they did last year in the competition. They weren't great, but they kind of held their own in a few games. I've had that same vibe about them this season. I think they've won one, drawn one, lost one, Noah, so far. Mid-table side. So they're quite durable. And... they don't take many big beatings off anybody other than the very best. My mind goes back to the Chelsea game, wasn't it, last season where they got heavily beaten? But they've been competitive, let's say, in lots of games. Does that mean that Aberdeen are a big price, small price, right price? I'm not quite sure. I'd need to dig a little bit more into Aberdeen, to be completely honest with you, Steve. But listen, hats off to you. You've been dealing with a lot of the smaller sides today in the Conference League. I've left them alone because I wasn't quite sure about some of them. So I admire your boldness on this one. I'll wait and see what happens, and I'll maybe dig into some of these sides a little bit more before the next round of matches.
I'm just not having Aberdeen. Like if they met on a neutral turf, the odds would be, Noah would be the favourites to win it on neutral turf. About plus maybe 140, plus 130.
Yeah,
for me that just wouldn't be right. I mean,
yeah.
They lost to Sigma Olomouc at home last time, Noah. Convincingly as well. Yeah. Aberdeen need to get the job done today. But a couple of you are obviously concerned by me here. Father Brian says Steve's been drinking earlier today. Someone said that they would be backing Noah rather than Aberdeen. It might be a terrible bet.
We'll see. Let's see.
We will have to see. I am nibbling them today. We didn't talk about the Roma. We're not actually scheduled to talk about the Roma game today.
Which is a huge game. Yeah, I know. I saw that comment, Steve. Sorry to interrupt, but I saw that comment. I thought it's a really good point. It's a huge game. It's almost too big for me because I had a look at that game. I can't see any picks on that game. Also, I think it's slightly difficult when two teams have done really well. I'm not saying everyone's happy so far. We're only halfway through, but motivation for me starts to come into some of these games. Roma have got a huge game at the weekend, haven't they? They've got Napoli in Serie A. That for me just put me off this match. I'm not quite sure how much Roma focus will be on this game with that game at the weekend, because I think we're deep enough now into the Serie A season for Roma to start being considered title contenders. Maybe a bit too early for some people, but they're playing like it for me in what is an open Serie A title race. So just had a few concerns about Roma's focus on this match tonight, and it was enough to put me off. But it's a really big game, so I do understand the point about whether we're covering it.
Yeah, Michelin defending that 100% record, of course. I've been impressed with them in Europe this season. Wouldn't surprise me if there's a few goals actually in that game. The Villa lineup is out. Martinez, Maatsen, Torres, Lindelof, Bogard, and Nana and Tielemans in the midfield. Evan Guesson gets a start for Aston Villa tonight. Jadon Sancho, Doniel Marlon, who we really impressed at Ellen Road, and Morgan Rogers. It's officially no actual striker in the team. Guesson could play there, actually, in fairness, couldn't he? Yeah. Strong bench, as you might expect.
Yeah, that's a good team. I like it. I'm happy with that lineup. I noticed as well, just on team news, Steve, very quickly, Hacken Harrelson has been picked in the starting 11 for Lille, who we mentioned earlier, in the over 0.5 shot on target market. So that's good news for us as well.
Yeah, very, very good news for those who've got on the plus 105 for the shot on target. A couple of late games here. Hagliona, Bialystok against Cups. I put this one in because, again, it's one of my fades of teams that, the Finnish league finished several weeks ago. And I do like Hagliona to win. The problem I've got here is it's going to be really cold again. And it's not often I go into like a same game parlay, but I quite like the home team here, Hagliona, to win and under 3.5 goals. And you can get plus money on that, plus 110. I think 1-0, 2-0, 3-0 is very, very possible for them. The handicap's 1.5 now, which it was annoying because if it was -1, I'd be all over it. But I think Cups could be vulnerable here in a low-scoring win for Hagliona. Fiorentina, AEK Athens, you've got a line on this one, James?
Yeah, a line on this one. And it's on Fiorentina as a lean here. Now, the money has moved quite strongly against them. They were -148, I think, earlier today or maybe yesterday. -108 there on the graphic. I think since we've been on air, they've moved to -113, but a lot shorter. They're closer to evens now than when I first looked at them and thought I quite like them. Why do I like Fiorentina? Well, they've changed their manager recently, and I think there have been some signs of improvement. They've gone 2 games unbeaten since Paolo Vanoli came in. They drew 2-2 away to Genoa, another team who've changed their manager recently. They drew 1-1 at home to Juventus last weekend. Far from a perfect performance against Juventus, but there were signs, I think, of them being a bit more organised, and they take that into the game here against AEK Athens. They've done pretty well so far in Europe. Fiorentina, they've won 2 out of 3 so far. AEK Athens, 1-1 drawn, 1 lost, 1. Their win was that big win, 6-0 against Aberdeen. But they drew 1-1 at home to Shamrock Rovers, who are down near the bottom of the table. The only side that AEK Athens have faced who are near the top of the standings at the moment was Celta away, which they lost 3-1. So what does all of that mean? It means I think there is a big difference in quality here between the sides. The concern with Fiorentina is whether they rotate. They are in trouble at the bottom of the Serie A table. They've got quite a big game against Atalanta this coming weekend. It may be the priority, given they already have 6 points from 9 in this competition. So you may want to wait for team news and see how much they rotate. But I think if they were anything close to full strength, I think the price of fairly close to evens on Fiorentina to take the 3 points here would be worth a look.
And we've saved the best game till last. Strasbourg against Crystal Palace. This is about as good as it gets for the Conference League. 2 of the favourites for the competition. Palace are minus money in Eastern France, which might surprise a few people, this one, James. Strasbourg plus 300 and the tie plus 245. I think both teams are going to go at it proper hard here, actually. You've got another lean for this game. Take us through the analysis of what should hopefully be a decent watch.
Yeah, it should be. I like Strasbourg here based on the prices. I think Palace are probably the better side. I don't disagree with that, but I think minus money away from home, I think they're too short. So I would be looking to back Strasbourg on the Asian handicap, plus 0.5 goals start at minus 112. So you would make a profit as long as Strasbourg avoid defeat. It is a huge game, this. It's first against third in the outright market. Crystal Palace are plus 300 favourites to win this competition. Strasbourg are plus 600 third favourites. So on that basis, by some distance, the biggest game of the competition so far, really. Why do I think Palace are too short if I think they're the better side? The primary reason is Strasbourg have been very good at home this season. They've lost only 1 out of 8 across League One and Europe so far. They've been very solid at home. They've kept clean sheets in 6 out of their 8 home games. Strasbourg like playing at home. I think the manager, Liam Rossini, has got them very well set up. They're difficult to break down at home. Anybody that's watched them would have seen that. They actually make life very difficult for the opposition. They're arguably facing a stronger standard of team here than they normally face in League One. I agree with that. But I think how they've played so far in Europe and League One at home will stand them in good stead. Just a point on the stadium. Anybody that's watched Strasbourg over the last 12 months will have noticed the stadium has been redeveloped. They played most of that time with an empty stand down one side of the pitch. That's been finished in the last couple of weeks. I think there's a few loose ends to tie up, but essentially they've got fans on all 4 sides of the ground now. Makes for, first of all, a bigger crowd and also a better atmosphere. So it's a good place to be for them, and they've worked out a good way of playing at home. And I think they'll make life difficult for a Palace side who, yes, man for man, if they both went with their strongest 11s, are probably the stronger side. But A, they may rotate a little bit, Palace, and B, we've seen that they not necessarily always at their best so far in Europe. They've won 2 out of 3, but they obviously had that home defeat to Larnaca, AEK Larnaca, which was a surprise. So just feel the price on Palace. If it was the other way and they were plus money, plus 120 or something like that, I would probably leave this alone. But Palace minus money away from home, I think, is a little bit short. So I would want to side with Strasbourg. As I say, plus 0.5 on the Asian handicap would be my lean, because that way you make a profit as long as Strasbourg avoid defeat.
Yeah, it's a fair enough assessment, is that one, James. There is, on the over-under line, 83% of the money's on the over there, on the over 2.5 line. Finally, a bit of love for Aberdeen in the chat. Byron said they just beat Hearts. They have momentum. I like the way you're thinking, Byron.
Fair point.
Palace, I mean, with the Premier League teams, you never know when they're going to be focusing on the Prem, actually, to be honest with you. But that concludes it today. I'll ask you for your best bet soon, James, and remind people of the Daily Double. But we've got Thanksgiving games, of course, going on. I'll give you the betting splits for the second one now. This is at 4:30 Eastern Time PM. This is Chiefs at Cowboys. Saw loads of bets in chat about this. Seemed a 50-50 split, but it's a -3. The Kansas City Chiefs are the favourites here, and the points line's at 52. And I can tell you now that the general split, 73% of the money's on the Chiefs. On the spread, 63% of the money's on the Chiefs, so it's quite close. 81% of the money on the over-under market is on the over. That surprised me, actually. I listened to Doug Kazarian yesterday. I totally get him here. I like the under for this game, with the way that both defenses are playing at the minute. 52 did look a really high line. Biggest bet on the game, though, is on the over. $12,000 and over 51.5 points. And then later on, Bengals at Ravens. You've got 79% of the money on the Ravens. 63% of the money on the spread is on the Ravens, -7. Another really high points total, 51.5. 80% of the money is on that over. And the biggest bet on the game so far, a notable wager on the game, $7,000 on the Bengals, plus 4.5 at mine at plus 138. So, James, what's your best bet today?
Well, of all of my leans and picks, my best single would be on the Lyon on the money line at -136 to win that game on neutral territory against Maccabi Haifa. But very confident with our daily double, Steve. Obviously, we flagged it up if anybody's looking for a double. Villa and Forest, with those handicaps, I think you're going to get a very good run for your money there at plus money. I think it's good value.
For me, the best single bet of the day is that Forest one, -1.75. I really like PAOK, -1 against Brann as well. And I do like, for your third best bet of the day, would be AZ Alkmaar -2. But I've given out several plays today. I've got a lot of bets on the line, James. We both have, really.
Yes.
So once again, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Really do enjoy your day. Let's cash loads of winners on the board. Thanks as ever, James. Premier League show is going to be out in 5 minutes' time.
Yeah,
big changes on there. So get watching it with some big changes. And then extra time will be out tomorrow as well. But until next time, until tomorrow, Dan Roebuck's hopefully giving the chair and solving his internet issues from Monday. It's goodbye from me and James. Gamble responsibly and see you all next time. Take care.